Let's go back to our top story now, the political crisis in Venezuela. Calvin Tucker is the campaigns officer at socialist newspaper The Morning Star and joins me now in the studio. Good to have you with us. I know that you're one of the ones who doesn't accept the international complaint that elections in Venezuela were neither free nor fair. In fact, you actually wrote to the EU about it last year. What do you say to those countries who are now insisting that Nicolas Maduro is not the legitimate president of Venezuela?
Well, first of all, I would say this isn't the international community speaking.
Well, it's the US and more than 20 other countries. It's a large part of the international community.
Venezuela maintains the support of Mexico, Russia, China, other regional powers, South Africa, and most of what we used to call the non-aligned movement.
But it's clear that Maduro is facing massive protests inside Venezuela. His rival, Juan Guaido, has gained the support, as I said, of more than 20 countries. So should Mr. Maduro not heed the call for early elections to end this crisis, early presidential elections, I should say?
Maduro was elected just last year on May the 20th. I was one of 200 international election observers from 86 countries around the world. And our view was that the election was free and fair. And in fact, it was former American President Jimmy Carter who described the Venezuelan electoral system as the best in the world. Venezuelan society is polarized, but it's polarized on class divisions and on racial divisions. Alongside the opposition demonstrations are absolutely massive protests and rallies taking place in every Venezuelan state, every large urban conurbation, and in the barrios, that's the popular neighbourhoods where working class and poor people live. So society is very, very polarised, but the Western media are only presenting us with one side of that story.
Okay, and as you say, the US are intervening in this. President Maduro has appealed directly to the American public to say, please ask Donald Trump not to interfere in our internal politics. But do you think that the US could force President Maduro to step down?
Well, I think it would be extremely difficult because Maduro has the support of the majority of working class people in Venezuela. That's the majority of society. And critically, he maintains the support of the military, who are committed to constitutionality and have made it very, very clear that there are no circumstances under which they would back a coup. The aim of the United States here is really, as they did in Chile in 1973, to make the economy scream in the hope that the general public will blame that on the socialist government, that their support would implode, and that this new self-declared interim president would somehow march into Miraflores presidential palace. Judging by the size of the pro-government demonstrations in the last 2 days, this simply isn't going to happen. The big fear, if I can finish, the big fear is that the United States militarily intervenes. National Security Advisor John Bolton was photographed holding a file with his plans to send 5,000 American troops to Colombia. 5,000
troops Colombia, but he later said that there had been no discussion about a possible military intervention. The situation inside Venezuela at the moment, though, extremely volatile. You've got massive economic problems, you've got hyperinflation, shortages of food, shortages of fuel, and of course this political crisis going on. How do you see this playing out, and what impact is this having on the people in Venezuela?
Well, the Venezuelan economy is in a terrible state. The two principal reasons for that is the economic warfare waged against the country by the United States. This didn't start today. I mean, history didn't begin today. This is a process that's gone back 20 years, ever since Hugo Chavez was democratically elected president. And unfortunately for Nicolas Maduro, and more unfortunately for the Venezuelan people, the price of oil has collapsed over recent years, and that's Venezuela's largest source of hard currency on which the entire economy depends. Of course, it's true that the Venezuelan government has made some errors. Principally, that error is a failure to diversify the economy away from oil and build their own industrial base. But that's a problem that affects every oil-producing country and every economy in the world that relies on a single product or crop or natural resource.
Maduro has offered to talk to his opponents and sit down with opposition leaders. He's also offered parliamentary elections. Do you think any of that will go anyway towards diffusing the political problems in Venezuela right now?
One would hope so. I mean, the opposition is divided, and it's been divided for 20 years between those that wish to partake in the constitutional democratic process and those who look towards the United States to intervene. And of course, that intervention isn't simply threats of military action. It's a process of destabilisation and funding the opposition through organisations such as the misnamed National Endowment for Democracy, through USAID, to the tune of about $5 million a year. What I think we need to hope for is that the United States and the EU countries step back from the brink of this madness of recognising a self-declared president of Venezuela, and put pressure on their own governments and on the opposition forces in Venezuela to draw back from the brink of what would be an absolute disaster. We're looking at civil war if they go in. There are 1.6 million working-class Venezuelans organised in citizens' militias to prepare for a US invasion. The Venezuelan army is 500,000 strong. If there's a military intervention, there will be a catastrophic bloodbath.
And the US, of course, saying that is not on the cards at the moment. Calvin,
well, they've said they'll keep all options open.
Yes,
and Donald Trump and the Secretary of State have been very clear that the military option is being considered.
Calvin, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Calvin Tucker there.